Welcome to Shooting Straight with Brad and David. I'm David Clouse, your Navajo County Sheriff, and my partner.
I'm Brad Carlyon, your Navajo County Attorney.
Well, this month we're joined by a good friend, Mark Sterling from the White Mountain Sheriff's Posse. Thank you for joining us, Mark.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, cool. So you're part of the White Mountain Sheriff's Posse, which tell us a little bit about the posse, when you guys got started, and kind of your responsibilities.
We're about 52 years old now. We just celebrated our 50th Pony Express ride, one of our exercise deals we do every year. We're search and rescue. We've been involved in high-tech mountain climbing. We've had a couple of airplanes in our outfit before. Water rescue, diving team, cold water rescue, horseback, obviously walking, foot soldiers and that kind of stuff. We also have a full kitchen. I can feed up about 1,500 people at a time on our kitchen with about 4 or 5 guys help. So we're just here to help support obviously the Sheriff's Department, working under the auspices of your office. And then we do anything that the county needs, local cities. When Show Low needs us or Pine Top needs us, we show up, and all volunteer. We do one event. We're going to talk about our event. It's our annual barbecue. This is our 50th barbecue this year. And that's our only fundraiser. Everything else, we're self-funded by the guys, by our dues and that kind of stuff.
So how often do you guys get called out in search and rescue? Do you do it very often?
It used to be quite often. Once cell phones became real popular, it kind of dissipated a lot. We used to do probably 15 or 20 a year. Good 3, 4, 5 day searches. But over the last probably 6 or 7 years, with the cell phones, you're able to ping the phone. It's a whole lot easier. We're available for the sheriff. If he calls us out, I'll have 20 guys within 15 minutes. So a lot of the hasty search and rescue has changed over the last 8 or 10 years. So they do what's called a hasty search. That's where you put a whole bunch of guys out there and try not to mess up any kind of evidence and do a quick search before you bring in the big teams. And with the cell phones and everything lately, it's really worked out well on your end, especially. We get called out, and by the time we get there, they've already found them, or within an hour or two that we're there, we found them. So
I'd say the last 4 or 5 call outs, you guys are terminated about the time you're getting in your truck.
As soon as we're in transit, the last 4 or 5 calls we've had, it's been over.
So has your need for search and rescue gone down because of cell phones and other things?
Kind of. We still get the calls. A lot of them, like Mark was alluding to, we do get a lot of the calls that are still coming in, but we're not pulling search numbers through the state or official search numbers because they're out Christmas tree hunting. We'll use that as an example. And they've lost their vehicle. They can't find back. And the deputy's able to ping them or call them. And then they're just so quick that the searches aren't as elaborate as they have been. Sometimes you can get into these 3 or 4 day searches. So a lot of times what we're using the posse for now is, of course, all our search and rescue operations, but we're doing recovery, evidence recovery. Sometimes we lose a weapon.
Okay, so I was going to ask
in a crime scene. Yeah, right. So we're doing recovery. We're doing body recovery. Sometimes somebody's gone missing, and a lot of times they're on the White Mountain Apache tribe.
Right.
And I'm sure you've done numerous of those.
Oh yeah.
Well, they'll find human remains months later, year later, and they'll come help us kind of coordinate the whole area.
I know Mark talked about the White Mountain Posse being self-funded, but I remember a bill in the legislature run by the sheriffs about some funding for search and rescue. How does that interplay with each other?
Yeah, if you think about it, Mark talked about all self-funded. They do their barbecue, and we're going to talk a little bit about when and where that is. But 52 years, we've had the Hash Knife, the Northern Sheriff's Posse, for around 65 years. All these organizations, these posses throughout all 15 counties have all been on the backs of volunteers. They've all started with local men and women that have that joined together and said, hey, we want to help our local community. They formulated, they received formal training, and then that's when they've kind of organized as a posse. general fund money or sheriff's office fund money back then was not proportioned for posses or for volunteer groups. And that's kind of been the tradition all the way going forward. And so all the searches, all the equipment, the time, the fuel, and all that is just the goodness of the hearts of our volunteers. The state a while back has started where they can get reimbursement for fuel. And so when there's an official search, we do reimbursement for fuel. But if their quads, their horses, their horse trailers, the vehicles, their airplanes, all those types of operations is all their equipment. So the sheriffs have seen across the state, although we kind of talk about a decline, but some of these more remote counties, say with the Grand Canyon or the Superstition Mountains, they're getting more and more searches. They need more and more full-time teams. And look at the cost of fuel. It's so high.
Oh, yeah.
The sheriffs ran a bill this last year to help bring in more funding
Will
for...
that be flowed through and passed through you to the volunteers?
Yeah, it'd be passed through the sheriff's office. We're looking at like using ATV or the UTV funds on those registrations, where they use a lot of that for enforcement, but those generate a lot of our search and rescue calls or our some sort of investigations. So we're looking. We didn't pass it this year, but we're looking to go again next year. It kind of got too bogged down with some of the election laws and different stuff.
It was a crazy session.
It got lost in the weeds, but we got a little bit of traction. We got a few sponsors, but the sheriffs are going to take the same bill. We're going to run it again this next legislative session. And that way, when the posse comes to us and they need a vehicle, or they need a quad, they need a trailer, or they need say Mark brings us side-by-side out and tears up a tire and an axle on it, we can use some of those funds to help replace that.
Our outfit, one thing about us different than most is we mostly don't ask for that. We pay for our own gas. We pay for our own food. We take care of our own vehicles, our own animals. We've asked a couple of times for radios, things that the sheriff has good access to at reasonable pricing, but we own.
So you buy the radios.
And we own our radios. We own our own equipment. We maintain our own equipment. We don't ask the sheriff. That's not who we are. That's not what our particular outfit, that's not what we're about.
I assume most of your searches takes place on federal land, because so much of the county is Forest Service. If it's not Indian land, do the feds contribute or help in any way?
No.
No.
Because these are always, even though it's on federal land, these are always deemed as a county issue or a state problem.
Right.
I shouldn't call it a problem, but a state issue or a state county issue.
Do they help?
Not really. But, the sheriff is, like, he'll call us out to go to Coconino or to Gila or to Graham. Or, we don't go unless the sheriff asks us to go. If the sheriff from Graham calls us, we'll just tell him, no, you're going to have to call David Clouse and get his permission for us to go, because we work under Navajo County. That's just who we are.
But think about that, Brad. You got 60 volunteers that want to serve, and that's all they want to do each and every day. I know there's other organizations out there, but how valuable that is to us.
It's a force multiplier for
It's a force multiplier immediately. We've called Mark and his team out for evacuation notices for wildfire season.
Yeah.
They've helped in evacuations or staged when we had a couple pop up this summer, and they're just there. We know that they'll pick up the phone, they'll be there immediately, and they don't worry about how are we getting there, what's the reimbursement. They know that there's a need, there's a public need. Yeah. And this tradition started 60 years ago, and it's just people that wanted to help their community.
And that seems to be a reoccurring theme we have on the show of Shooting Straight. The White Mountain Sheriff's Posse, the Ash Knife, your Sheriff's SAV group. Just all the different people in the community willing to give back, which is so wonderful.
Yeah, it's truly humbling when you think you got a contact list of over 200 people between all these organizations that'll pick up the phone or they will answer the phone and respond.
You'll get the important part.
And you'll get 30 to 40% of those 200 within the first 30 minutes are available.
You had also mentioned that part of your equipment is all this food making stuff.
Right.
And I know that you'll set up and feed the search and rescue teams, or probably when we got the wildfires, but I assume you use that for your big barbecue fundraiser too?
We do. Our meat and beans are done in a pit. We deep pit that.
How many people do you serve?
We average about 1,400. I'm anticipating about 1,600 this year, just because of things that have gone on the last 2 years. People want out. They want to get out. They want to communicate. They want to see people.
I just fed 40 people pulled pork, and I had 5 pork butts. How many do you have to buy?
I think we're like close to 600 pounds of meat.
Wow.
And you've seen that line. It never
and
stops all day.
250 pounds of beans, 20 cases of chicken, coleslaw. It's.
And I like the hand-turned ice cream
Yep.
at the end. That's my favorite part of it.
Yeah. And the sheriff comes out and helps. He stands on the line and has him and his deputies come out. And
is he sampling as he's standing in the line?
Yeah, I keep asking for that job, but they always put me down with the drinks. I have to hand out soda pop all day, and you put your hand in the ice all day.
Your wife probably doesn't like that part when you get home.
I want to be by the pit where
That's
the meat's
right.
coming out, but Mark won't let me near it.
So we start
ice cream.
We start on Friday about 7 in the morning and start the fire. We have our own pit up at the county yard, and
how big is the pit for that much meat?
it's about 14 by 14 by 9 foot deep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And we got it all donated. We dug the hole and everything, and we got all the fire brick inside donated. In the old days, we didn't do that. In the old days, we dug a hole, put it in the hole, buried it, came back and took it out. Now we've got a real nice fire brick pit to use. But we did like the Rodeo Chetasky. Part of the things we did all of the evacuation, and then we did daily security through Show Low, through Pine Top, all the closed roads coming back in. We were on standby at all those roads, and we fed 1,400 officers every day during the whole fire. So that was a 10-day, 11-day deal.
But you have a deep history that runs in this organization. I mean, I enjoy going to the barbecue and the Pony Express ride. There's members of that team that are still active. And
Still active, yeah.
They shuck the corn.
Ed Buell,
But
87 years old. Ed will come up.
But he's an original
He's
member.
in the valley, and he'll drive up here with his family. Can't really walk much or anything. We get a nice little chair, and he just sits in that chair and shucks corn and tells stories all day long.
That's the job you need, to hear all the stories that Ed's telling, shucking corn there.
But you got Penrod, Mr. Penrod.
And
you got a lot of
Sonny
members.
Penrod, and there's quite a few of them. Aubrey Lewis here in Show Low.
Dating back into the 60s.
Oh yeah.
But it's a 3-day event for you guys,
It's a
even though it's
3-day
only
event.
served for 1 day. You got a
Right.
day of prep and a day of serving and then a day of cleanup.
Well, and we got to set everything up. One thing about it, and if people out there are nervous about it, with the rain, thank God we have the rain, and I hope we'll get a lot more. But we have full party tents that we set up. So everybody's under, we serve food under a pavilion, a metal pavilion, and then all of the tables and chairs are set up under these big party tents. So you're out of the weather in a beautiful venue, and to me it's a great cause to give back to the community by helping us out.
And you give very good sized servings too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
May not fill up my kids, but
you
it
know,
fills
if
me
you
up.
don't get enough food, shame on you. That's our opinion. You're welcome to come back and we'll feed you. That's what it's all about, you know.
So
And it's our only way to thank the community. We're just not out there. We don't advertise. We don't, we don't pat ourselves on the back or anything. We're just a service organization for the sheriff, and that's it. And
It's really a service organization for the community.
it really is.
Through
It
the
really
sheriff's
is.
office. So remind us where this is, when this is. And
Okay, the barbecue is August 13th, Saturday, from 11 to 6 at the Orchard at Charlie Clark's in Pine Top. And it'll be, we've got pork or chicken, coleslaw, corn on the cob, local corn on the cob from the Hatch family farms produce the corn for us.
Always good sweet corn.
Yeah. I think we've only had 1 year that we couldn't get it from them, and we actually had to go to Bash's and Safeway and buy up what they had. It was just one of those odd years that the corn didn't come on early enough, and but they're assuring us that it'll be ready to go. And yeah.
Well, Mark, thank you for joining us. Unfortunately, we're running out of time.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, and thank you for all the team, what you guys do. You do a great service for the community.
Thank you. Appreciate
The
that.
tradition, I think the community loves the second Saturday in August getting that barbecue.
And that's a tradition for the community.
Yeah.
So, yeah, appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us this month for Shooting Straight with Brad and David. And please stay tuned for this month's Most Wanted.
Tyler Benjamin Johnson, 21 years old, has a valid and confirmed felony warrant for failure to appear on the original charges of aggravated DUI. Tyler's last known address was Lakeside, Arizona. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Tyler, please call Navajo County Communications Center at 928-524-4050. Or to remain anonymous, please call WeTip at 1-800-78-CRIME.